Hey everyone, welcome back, and today we're here with my Magic Finder RAIDER SST build. I will quickly say this is a very high budget build, and it's something like aspirational if you want to work towards. And if you're also wondering whether it's like very good at magic finding, it's definitely good, but it's not the best. I would still use Tornado Shot or Lightning Arrow over this skill, especially at the budget that I'm at right now. Lightning Arrow Tornado Shot would do a lot better. And the only reason I say this is because the only issue this build really has is when you go into a Legion and you always leave like one or two stragglers, which is really annoying. But other than that, the build is really smooth. It's actually pretty tanky because it's using Emperor's Vigilance and it's got a lot of ES. And of course, I'm using a Headhunter as well, so it makes it pretty immortal while you're mapping. But yeah, it's just overall a really fun build, and I would try it if you have the budget, but if you don't, I wouldn't really play it. I really wouldn't play this on a low budget because it's gonna not be fun at all. And when I mean high budget, I do really mean a few hundred divines. It's not worth playing when it's. But if you need at least the shield, which is quite expensive. If you chance it yourself, it's cheaper potentially, but if you get unlucky, you could cause yourself to actually quit the league because chancing isn't fun, and if you get unlucky while chancing, then you might as well quit the league at that point. But yeah, I have actually chanced my own one. I bought a really cheap base for like 2 divine. It wasn't the best base, but I was like, I might as well try and chance this. I can't be bothered to make another base because I really don't like the Crucible mechanic. I don't like how much gambling there is involved, and how much imprints you have to use. And I did that with my Sceptre as well, which was really painful. But yeah, I actually hit mine in 1,500 chances. You guys probably be mad at me, but yeah, I was really lucky. I hit like 950 or 970 ES on my shield, which was pretty good. But yeah, pretty fun build. It's pretty good. I'm currently doing some magic finding in Cemetery, and yeah, it's been okay. I haven't dropped too many Brothers Gift. I've actually dropped a lot more Brothers Stashes, which is the Exalt card, and I don't know if it's got the same weighting, but it might. I'm not really sure. But yeah, hoping to get more Brothers Gift. I really like Cemetery because it's open, and I did a lot of Crimson Temple earlier in the league with like Tornado Shot or Lightning Arrow, I can't remember. And I just really don't like Crimson Temple. And the reason I don't like it is because the amount of you have to like kind of memorize where you've been, right? Because of strong boxes, you need to memorize where you've been on the map, so you backtrack efficiently and open the strong boxes, and make sure you open every single strong box on the map because they're dropping you most of the div cards because of their quantity. So doing that is really important. And on Crimson Temple, I keep forgetting where I've been because it's such a spaghetti map, and on Cemetery it's a lot easier to keep track of that. And yeah, so that has been the build showcase. We'll now go into the gear in a second. Okay, so now we'll talk about the gear a little bit. I'm not going to go in depth because yeah, it's just too much to say. And we're magic finding anyway, so we're using a lot of uniques. So we got the staff here. This staff is really annoying to make, and I don't know, it was so annoying. What you have to do is you get the hatred, you ult it, and then you get it isolated. Then you do can have multiple mods. Then you have then you craft the attack speed rail unique, and then you do suffixes cannot be changed with wild bistral matron, whatever it's called. And you have to keep doing that and reforge influence until you hit Fizz is extra cold. I got really unlucky, and then I hit T1 max roll, so it kind of works out in the end. But yeah, I spent like probably 20 divines trying to just get that mod alone, and it was so annoying to hit that. But yeah, then we've got the tree. Now the tree is so annoying as well. So when you buy the bases for the tree to make the tree, they're so expensive. Scepters, if you want to make money right now, just go and any scepter base, just go and identify the Crucible tree over and over again, because there's so many bases that are worth so much currency just for any scepter. Doesn't matter what scepter, just get the scepter with any of these mods and it's going to be worth at least a divine usually, apart from this mod here isn't worth very much. But what you can do is if you get that, so say you get like global crit multi on your Sceptre that you identified from Crucible, then you can Fracture Fossil it and then sell them both for a Divine. And you can make a lot of money like that. Even though you do spend some money with the Fracture Fossils, it's worth it because you overall make more money. But yeah, I don't want to get into this really. It was just really painful. I don't want to talk about what happened with me because I actually bricked one of these as well. And yeah, I was pretty tilted for a while. Then you got the helmet. It's just the really good one. Heat Shiver with the implicit and the enchant. Really expensive. I think it's about 50 divines at the moment. And then yeah, we've got the Emperor's Vigilance here. So I was really lazy with the tree. I just bought one pre-made as I said, and I have a really low increased armor evasion here. But the main nodes you really want is this 40 ES and the explicit defense modifier. And I think that might be enough with 30 quality to get you to 950, which is the breakpoint for crit. Any more than 950 to 1000 isn't really doing anything because you hit the next breakpoint at 1000. So if you can't get 1000, then there's no point of investing too much more. I couldn't be bothered, so I just left it. And then we got the ashes. Really important thing here is the 30 quality, and the reservation's actually a little bit important as well. But it depends what you want to do. You can run an Enlighten 4, or you could drop this to Enlighten 3 and get a higher reservation ashes. But it rounds out to be the same price either way, because Enlighten is like 10 divines. A better ashes with 30% quality with high RMR is also another 10, 12 divines on top. So it's up to you which way you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. And then yeah, we got the Venters. Just got some high res, and main thing is quantity and rarity. I was able to drop a little bit of res here, like on the fire res on this one. But yeah, these aren't too expensive these days. You can buy one without the resistance catalyst and then catalyst it yourself. If you buy it without the catalyst and you look for the res, it's actually not that bad. You can get it for like 1-2 divines. And then if you catalyst it, it actually increases the price all the way, like about another 2 divines in some cases. So you definitely don't want to buy one pre-catalysted. This is going to cost you a lot more. And then we got the Calm Spirit. Ideally, you want +1 socketed gems here because you're using an enhance to buff the skills. But I found that the attack speed implicit is almost the same damage, and it's a lot cheaper. So I just went for that. At this point, I was so broke that I didn't want to spend any more on the gloves anyway. And then yeah, the Goldworm. You kind of want on these Goldworm is actually a corrupt implicit that gives you regen while moving. But yeah, I just got this attack and cast speed if you kill recently. Then we got Headhunter, of course. You can use Perseverance, but on a Raider, it's not. It's like you've got a dead stat. So with Perseverance, it does give you a lot of damage. Where is it? Do I not have one? Okay, there we go. So it does give you a lot of damage because we have a lot of armor and evasion rating. But we don't have Fortify. So obviously we have for Onslaught already. So you can use Perseverance, but it does have a dead stat technically on there. But it doesn't really matter, right? If you can't get a Headhunter right now, then yeah. This does give you a lot more damage than Headhunter as well. So if you're just doing any other content, maybe not too juice magic finding, maybe something else, this is a lot better anyway. I don't think I could recommend magic finding without Headhunter because the clear is already not the greatest, and Headhunter helps it a lot. And if you don't have a Headhunter, it might feel really bad, especially the legions. I tried this build with a Mage Blood, and I just wasn't having as much fun, and I couldn't clear as well. So Headhunter is just superior here. I wouldn't really use anything else. And then you got the Flask, you got regen here, attack speed, rarity, gold flask. And then we got reduced mana cost of skills. This helps a lot with our mana cost. But we don't actually need it to get going anyway. It's just there for cure well. And then we got the Divination Distillate. Now I can actually use this, when I'm full life, and I've got the Master Surgeon Jewel on my passive tree, and this makes it so if you're in a situation where this isn't working, where you can't press it even though you have Master Surgeon, you need to spec into recover 4% of life when you use a flask, because when you don't have it, as you can see, I can't use my flask, and I'm spamming my button right now. But if you have 4% recover when you use a flask, you can use your Divination Distillate even though you're on full HP. So I would really recommend that if you are having that problem as well. But keep in mind this is really expensive. The Master Surgeon combo, it could set you back another 50 divines or so for both of them. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to run because I'm a raider and I can't go Pathfinder in this case. So I think it's really nice to have that. Then the links, the reason we run life tap in here, if you were to run stuff with less mods, you can just go for life tap and fizz convert, and then multi is third, and then the minimum frenzy and power I would take last because it's the least important one in my opinion. But you can choose mix and swap if a little bit if you want, but the reason you use life tap here is because, as you can see, our mana is already struggling. We have a very low amount and we don't want our shield charge or our SST to get interrupted because we don't have mana. And putting this in here gives it life tap. So you got Sniper's mark on hit and Molten Shell. I just put Molten Shell on left click because it makes life a bit easier not having to worry about that. And you don't actually want Berserk on left click on this build. The reason is because you don't have permanent uptime, and you kind of want to proc your Berserk when you are about to do a Legion or something, right? So as you can see here, it still lasts a little while, but it's obviously not lasting that long, right? So I wouldn't recommend using Berserk on left click on this build for that reason. And the way we're actually regenning for Berserk is through the Flask, which is not very much. But the main way is on here, we're using every 4 seconds regenerate life equal to 1% of armor and evasion rating over 1 second. And as you can see, we have 30k armor, 30k evasion rating. And obviously with our Jade Flask up, we have more of those. And that's how we're regenning to get our rage. And then we've got Divergent Determination. And you do want alt quality skill gems on this build because we're using ashes and it will amplify them. So Anomalous Hatred is actually really important and it's underrated as hell if you don't know about it. So they actually removed they removed freeze duration on the cold mastery. There used to be a cold mastery last league where you could get cold or freeze duration, which actually helped you. It actually helps you freeze enemies easier, as far as I'm aware. So this gives you increased duration on there, and that actually helps you freeze. And the reason we need to freeze every monster we possibly can is because we get 100% of cold damage as extra fire damage against frozen enemies. So this is actually really important to have. And you may notice that some monsters don't get frozen without this skill gem. And then we got Enlighten and Grace, pretty standard. There isn't really a good alt quality Grace, so just leave it as it is. Another Enlighten in here, and then we've got Anomalous Defiance Banner. Now, because we're not champion, we have to run this Enlighten because we don't get banners reserve no mana. So we have to use another Enlighten here. And Anomalous Defiance Banner is really nice. It gives you increased armor and evasion rating. And then you've got Anomalous Precision here. And the reason I'm running this is simply because we need the reservation efficiency. This is actually quite expensive. I think it's about 4 divines for a Anomalous Precision. But I actually really need to use it on this build because, as I said, we don't have the banner for free. So we have to use these tactics to actually fit in the auras over here. Then we've just got our Shield Throw. 21 is actually pretty important. It gives you a pretty big damage boost. And then you've got Divergent Inspiration to lower the mana cost. You've got Vicious Proj, Fork. Fork is a little bit expensive right now. Trinity and Elemental Damage with attacks. And then we've got Berserk, Enhance. Anomalous Blood and Sand is pretty good because it gives you projectile speed in Sand Stance, and projectile speed feels really good on this build. We're not scaling our projectile speed with damage, but yeah. And then we've got Ancestral Protector, which is pretty good. We're using Phantasmal to give you the buff effect. Now, I don't actually really use this. I'd only use it in like an invitation or something, but I don't really use this at all. So you could feel free to drop this if you're just mapping, because I think you have enough damage without it, to be honest. And then you've got the Shield Charge with faster attacks. You don't need to run faster attacks because we already have a lot of attack speed on this build, but might as well because I had the slot for it, and it's pretty smooth. And then we've got Frostblink, and we've got Divergent Inspiration to lower the mana cost a little bit of them. I wouldn't recommend Life Tap because you use Shield Charge a lot and you might actually end up losing too much life by spamming it. So I wouldn't really recommend Life Tap. We have no regen on this build because we're using the Calm Spirit. Now, some quick tip I can give you is if you're in a desecrated ground map or burning ground map and you don't have immunity to them, what you could do is actually take out these gloves, and if you're like looting the map because you finished the map and you're magic finding, then this will give you the regen you need to walk over the ground if you need to without having to keep quitting the map to get your life back. So that's just a quick tip you can do there if you want. And then we've just finally got the tree. This Ritual Restraint's pretty good. Got one with Proj damage, and then it has Fizz's extra cold, and then it has non-curse aura, attack and cast speed, and I think it has non-curse aura again here. It's really good jewel. I think I bought this for about 9 divines. People are all aware about the good Ritual Restraints, so it's pretty hard to get one for cheap now. But yeah. And then we've just got this cluster over here. And then we got the Watcher's Eye, we got Grace Movement Speed, and Fizz Convert by Hatred, which is the important mod. We got Seething Fury, this is what makes the build work. It's pretty good. Of course, the shield as well, but this helps a lot. And it's pretty much it. We've got the Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh. We've got some... So I went for crit chance on these jewels because I needed it to cap my crit chance, but... yeah, you might have to find a different way. Also take this to help with res and get more crit chance as well. So, yeah. And then finally, the Ascendancy. So the Ascendancy helps a lot. Now, the permanent phasing is really nice. And on top of that, the spell suppress is really nice because I don't need to invest as much on the tree for it, which is really, really good because I can spend my points elsewhere. And then we've also got Avoid Elements, so I don't need to use the jewel that gives you, I think it's called Ancestral Vision, which gives you elemental element immunity based off your spell suppression. So we're actually getting this from Avatar of the Veil instead. And the reason why this node is really good is because it also gives you exposure, minus 20% exposure, which is really strong and really nice. And then we've just got Onslaught and Onslaught Effect. And you know, this build actually doesn't feel very slow for using Greed's Embrace. It's actually really, really fast for Greed's Embrace build. Normally Greed's Embrace feels really bad, but with this build, you actually have a lot of move speed still because you're a raider and you have shield charge as well. So looting on this build actually doesn't feel as bad as maybe a bow build, for example. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for this build. I don't really recommend it at low budget at all. I wouldn't really bother. I would just, you know, play something else, play Tornado Shot, play Lightning Arrow, and come to this build if you want a change, if you want to try something new, and you have a lot of currency lying around. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be making maybe some budget builds coming up next. I've got some cool ideas that I want to try out. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.